here. I've been having major problems with my internet at home, so I probably should have planned to come in, but because I know ULR's internet is much more reliable, which is why the videos, the recordings take so long before I can get them out to you. And because there's so much, it takes just so long, because I put them up on YouTube, it takes so long to upload them to YouTube. But the reason I do that is so that you don't actually have to have enough bandwidth to copy it into your, hard drive. So, and the one that I just did was a workshop, basically, where I took a couple of people's topics and I looked at how I would go about searching for those topics in the library and on the internet. So I want to make sure that, so I just posted that this morning. You probably haven't had a chance to see it. If you completely understand how to use library search tools, then you do not have to watch this. But if you really need help with library search tools, you must watch this. Now, when you are searching, and after you've watched that, and also you can watch the November 3rd class recording. After you watch those and you try doing things, then, and you still have problems, then I would be happy to help you if you get stuck. But make sure you've looked at the materials before you ask me for help. I am happy to help as long as you have looked at all the materials first. So we're working on the annotated bibliography. So let's look at it. And remember, on the Blackboard shell, if you look at the if you click on Unit 4, we have the assignment and all the recordings. And then on the Writing for the Workplace website, we also have the assignment. If you click on Unit 4, Persuasive Recommendation Report, if you click on the Persuasive Recommendation Report, whoops. This is exactly what's been going on with my computer. It is like molasses trying to get anything. I already did that. So the assignment has, at the beginning, has all the deadlines. So Tuesday, the 17th, the annotated bibliography is due through the Blackboard Dropbox. And there is a Dropbox at the end of Unit 4. I'm not going to move it because it's so slow. We are on task 3, annotated bibliography. Here are the details. And I've showed you some examples. And there's a handout. The annotated bibliography must include a minimum of 5 sources, at least 3 of which must be scholarly, peer-reviewed sources obtained through UA Little Rock's academic databases. Hopefully, you're going to find sources that you can use in your in your final report. But that's less important for the annotated bibliography. For the annotated bibliography, you have to have 5 sources, three of which must be scholarly peer-reviewed sources obtained through UA Little Rock's academic databases. Now, if you've seen any of the, when I've gone through, well, let's look at this. A lot of different universities, libraries have a lot of really good, useful explanations about annotated bibliographies, primarily because it is a very, very common assignment at all levels of academia. And so they have a nice little video.
Welcome to our online presentation on how to write an annotated bibliography.
How's the sound?
Not good. Turn
It's
it up
good?
a little bit, please.
Yeah, it's kind of low. It's kind of low.
Hello. Well, I'm going to put the, let's see. Let me make sure the sound is on the computer.
Just been given an assignment to write an annotated bibliography. Before you,
Is that better? Is better?
I guess.
Okay.
you'll need to know what exactly is an annotated bibliography and how do you get started. First, what exactly is an annotation? An annotation is more than just a brief summary of an article, book, website, or other type of publication. An annotation should give enough information to make the reader decide whether to read the complete work. In other words, if the reader were exploring the same topic as you, is this material useful? And if so, why? How is an annotation different from an abstract? While an abstract also summarizes an article, book, website, or other type of publication, it is purely descriptive. Although annotations can also be descriptive, they also include distinctive features about an item. Annotations can also be evaluative and critical, as we will see when we look at the 2 major types of annotations. What is an annotated bibliography? An annotated bibliography is an organized list of sources, like a reference list. It differs from a straightforward bibliography in that each reference is followed by a paragraph-length annotation, usually 100 to 200 words in length. Depending on the assignment, an annotated bibliography might have different purposes. It can provide a literature review on a particular subject. It can help to formulate a thesis on a subject. It can demonstrate research you have performed. provide examples of major sources of information available on a topic. There are two major types of annotated bibliographies: descriptive or informative, and analytical or critical. A descriptive or informative annotated bibliography describes or summarizes the source, as does an abstract. It describes why the source is useful for researching a particular topic or question, and its distinctive features. In addition, it describes the author's main arguments and conclusions without evaluating what the author says or concludes. For example, please pay attention to the last sentence. While it points out distinctive features about the item, it does not analyze the author's conclusions. An analytical or critical annotation not only summarizes the material, it analyzes what is being said. It examines the strengths and weaknesses of what is being presented, as well as providing the applicability of the author's conclusions to the research being conducted. For most of your annotated bibliographies, you will be writing analytical or critical annotations. For example, please pay attention to the last sentence. It criticizes the author's research. Please note in these samples, the citations follow the APA format. Now you are ready to begin writing your own annotated bibliography. First, before writing your annotated bibliography, you must choose your sources. This involves doing research, much like for any other project. Locate records to materials that may apply to your topic. Then review the actual items and choose those that provide a wide variety of perspectives on your topic. Article abstracts are helpful in this process. When writing your annotation, the complete citation should always come first, and the annotation follows. Depending on the type of annotated bibliography you are writing, you will want to include the purpose of the work, summarize the content, indicate for what type of audience the work is written, what is the relevance of the information to the topic, are there any special or unique features about the material, and finally, what are the strengths, weaknesses, or biases in the material. Annotated bibliographies may be arranged alphabetically or chronologically. Check with your instructor to see what he or she prefers. Remember, the citations themselves must be formatted properly. UMUC has prepared these guides to help you correctly format citations according to APA, MLA, or Chicago style. Remember, if you are unsure what style, thank you for watching this presentation. Please visit us often for all your information needs.
Okay, so Unit 4 persuasive report, Unit 4 persuasive report. All right, so in the assignment it says audience and purpose and format, the kind of things that he said check with your instructor about. So citations and format should follow APA style. The list should be alphabetical and each entry properly formatted. It should be double spaced and entries should be in hanging indent. I noticed his was not, but that's probably because he was using like PowerPoint, which makes it hard to make hanging indents. In the instructions, there's also an example at Purdue OWL. And somebody probably needs to put their computer on silent. So unfortunately, it's not giving me, where's their search now? Find info. This is all of. I think I've linked this somewhere, but this is really helpful. You might want to print this out so that you have a written guide to thinking about APA. And so let's move now to the handout. All right, so there's two parts to an annotation. There's the correct APA reference list entry, and then there's the annotation. We talked a little bit earlier in a couple weeks ago about this idea of paying attention to the IMRAD structure. It's actually on the second page of this handout. And using that for doing the summary. Please do not just copy the abstract from a database because that is not for the same purpose as what you are trying to do. And also a lot of times you may not even understand what it says in the abstract. Make sure you've actually looked at the whole document and can understand what you're reading and have explained it in your own terms. So general points, it's listed alphabetically. References are in hanging indent. I've showed you how you do hanging indent. You go to, in Google Docs, you go to align and indent, and indentation options, and then special indent. And if you want to make it hanging, you do that. In Word, you go to the paragraph menu, or you can use a shortcut of Control-T on a PC or Command-T on a Mac. I'm not really sure what why they use T. The references need to be double spaced, just like references in a regular annotation would be, or a regular list of references would be. And you can make the annotation underneath it single or double spaced, whichever you want. You also may use citation creation tools, but you must double check with your own resource to make sure that there are that you've done it correctly. So I have an example here. Here's an article that I found about dining at university. And who else? Somebody, I did this several years ago because another student had done it on this topic, but somebody in this class is doing it on dining too, right?
Me.
Who said that?
The Destiny.
The Destiny. Gotta find my piece of paper, my page where I wrote all this. You certainly can go take a look at this article, by the way, and use it for your paper and annotated bibliography. And that's, I think, Deasia asked me about the shuttle, because I'd written a sample one about the shuttle. By all means, do the same topic, and you can use stuff that I have. But that was done a couple of years ago. Hopefully there's some more recent things that you can find. So a lot of times when you are looking at sources, they have some kind of citation themselves. And this was an example of an article that on the front page of the article, this is what they have, the source in a format. I'm not really sure what their format was. I guess it could be Chicago name date format. But it's not APA. Why is it not an APA? What's different about the author's names in APA?
Isn't it like alphabetized, kind of like?
That raises a good question. The order of, if you have more than one author, you use the order that is in the article or in the source. So do not switch it around and make it alphabetical. That is a very important thing that people do in terms of figuring out who gets to be first author. So I work with a colleague, and we've done a whole bunch of things together. And she and I, we alternate between who gets to be first author. So the order of the author's names is very important, and you should not change it. So what's alphabetized are the list of references. So chances are, since this person's last name is Yensun, whoops. Lisa, when you worked on this, it added blue things.
Sorry, I dropped my phone. I was driving. I don't know what happened.
Oh, I hope your phone's okay. So it'll, in the list of sources, this author begins with a Y. Chances are it's going to be the last one in your bibliography. So that's not the difference. What is the difference with APA?
Isn't it like the setup? Oh no, never mind. The years after. Never
Do we
mind.
not type the full name?
Right. They don't put the whole first name in people's citation. So it would be Yensun, comma, K period. The first names of Jean Hertzman, it would be Jay Hertzman and Jung Jin Huang. Now, there's another thing that happens with the difference in APA. The other difference is they keep all of the names in the last name, first name format. So it would be Yensun, comma K, Hertzman, comma J, and Huang, comma Jung Jin. The reason why they don't put whole first names is they're trying to be more objective and give, if you don't have a first name, you can't tell if it's male or female. You just get a much less personal sort of sense of who the authors are. So is this big enough for everybody to see?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So this little handout from I think it was the Purdue Owl, gives you all the basics. Now we're talking about the references, which is at the far right. So here it says, the basics, and a single author periodical is, you have the author, comma, a, and the year. If they give you the middle name or middle initial, include it. If there are two or more authors, then you use the ampersand at the last one. That's that little and sign. And they're all last name first. And then you're supposed to cite up to 20 authors, which is kind of amazing to me. I don't know how you could write something with 20 people, but a lot of scientific research does in fact have a lot of people involved, and so that's where that comes along. Now, other formats like MLA, they definitely are not going to list all of them. After 3, it's et al, but APA, you list them all. What else is a problem here? College students and quick service restaurants, how students perceive restaurant food and services, period. What's wrong with how the title of the article is presented?
Is it supposed to be italicized?
It should be, yeah.
Not the title of the article. The article is not italicized. So remember I mentioned something about subject or title, sentence case and title case. So case is the term for uppercase and lowercase, and which of course you all know about. The way that you may have been taught in high school was the MLA format. That's probably most likely what you were taught. MLA format capitalizes all the title, all the words in the title except the little words like and or I guess the only little words, well, like and. But APA uses what's called sentence case. And so that means that you only capitalize the beginning of the sentence or the beginning after the colon. So the correct thing here would be college students, college is capitalized, but students and quick service restaurants are lowercase. Then after the colon, you have capitalized how, and then everything else after is lowercase. And again, whatever your resource that you're using, whether it's this document or something else, it will explain that for the source. So we're starting with the title of an article, and it says single author of a periodical. That's a periodical is any kind of journal. And it shows you here, title of article in sentence case. Then you can see how the title of the periodical is treated. How is it treated differently from the title of the article? I'll keep that there. What's different?
What's the question again?
So if you see here, the title of the article in a single author periodical, and it doesn't really matter, it's the same thing no matter how many authors in terms of the title of the article. So the title of the article and the title of the periodical, what's the difference between those two?
Italicizing.
So the title of the periodical is italicized. That's one difference. What's the other?
It's kind of like MLA where you capitalize all the big words instead of like the small words
Right.
of like of and all that.
Right. So don't ask me why they do it this way, but they do. So the periodical itself is in traditional title case, where the major words are capitalized. And the title of the periodical is italicized. That's the same as MLA. The title of the article is very different from MLA. It's not quotation marks. It's just without, and it's sentence case rather than title case. So this should be, so we already talked about the title of the article. It should be in sentence case, lowercase, everything except the word college and the how that follows the colon. The title of the journal itself, Journal of Food Service Business Research, needs to be italicized. The rest of it's okay. Then the handout shows you how the volume number and issue number are supposed to be treated. So after the title of the periodical, there's a comma. Then the volume number, which is italicized. It might be a little hard to tell that it's italicized on this small thing, but it's italicized. Then the issue number is after it and in parentheses, and it is not italicized. Then there is a comma, then pages, and then a DOI, which is a document object identifier, which is supposed to be something that will last and work even if somebody is accessing it in a different format. So what do we have here? Here they had a colon and then comma and then pages. So what do they need to do to change this volume and number? I'm going to. All right, if I can. This is why I personally prefer having written a print resource, because then I can always look in my print resource and look things up and not worry about using up the screen. But we're gonna figure out a way to show these at the same time. All right. Can you see both of these? So what do we need to do?
can't see.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, never mind, never mind.
Okay, so what do we need to do the volume number?
In parentheses,
No, what's it say over here?
italicized.
Italicized.
I'm trying
What?
to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it might be hard depending on how big your screen is. It's hard, and I have a giant screen. So the volume number is italicized. The issue number, what's it supposed to have?
In parentheses.
In parentheses, so that needs to be changed. And then there's a comma and then pages, which they have. And then they have a DOI, which is fine. Now, the second example was the one I got from the EBSCO database where I found the article. And remember, on the right side of the page of EBSCO, and actually I think it's on the right too with ProQuest sources, they have a citation creator. And you should consider the citation creator as a draft. There is almost always some mistake in it, which is somewhat frustrating. It would be nice if you could totally rely on them, but you need to become aware of what that formatting is. And the most common mistake I see in the EBSCO databases, at least, is that they don't do the sentence cap on the titles of the articles. So in this case, college students in quick service restaurants, how students perceive restaurant food and services. They capitalize students, quick service restaurants, etc. And so they just need college and how to be capitalized. The rest of it is fine. They have an italicized title of the periodical using title case. They have an italicized volume number followed by a non-italicized issue number, followed by a comma, then the pages and the DOI. So
Doesn't the word be lowercase though?
Shouldn't what? Oh, the of. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that was my word, my computer trying to be smarter than me, correcting it. Well, I don't know. Maybe you're not. I guess I have no idea. Well, I guess it was probably in there. So it should have of lowercase. Good get. Yeah, I probably copied it exactly the way they had it there. And so the version 3 is the correct one. I've corrected the of, so yeah, that was in there. The author's names are last name first, all of them, with an ampersand right before the last one. Only first initials for the first name. After the date is the year, and then the title is sentence case, and the periodical name is title case, but italicized, and then italicized volume, number in parentheses, that's the issue number, and then the pages, and then the DOI. Now, why does it matter to do this all the same, learn these picky little rules? The reason is that it's a rhetorical issue that you are helping your audience. If you follow the format exactly, then there is no ambiguity in what's happening. So, for example, there's a difference between saying what the title of the article is and the title of the periodical is. Well, why have a difference in format for those two? Because that way you clearly identify what's the title of the article and what's the title of the periodical. Now, your reader probably can spend a few seconds and figure that out if you use the exact same format. But why make your reader spend that extra few seconds and have to figure it out? Limit the cognitive load on your reader by doing everything exactly right. And that way they can focus on your content and also can find sources if they need to. Now, if you are doing a citation of these scholarly articles that I've asked you to do, because the citation creator is in the databases, you know, you're going to be like 75% to 100% done already if you use that citation creator. Because remember, on the side of the entry, it tells you what the site, how to cite, and you open it up and it'll give you all the different kinds of sites. So there's usually about a dozen different citation formats that they actually will give you. Now, if your sources are something else, you will be on your own. So how do you go about figuring out what to, how to put the sources? Well, you usually end up having to combine things from one model and another. I think for now, we'll start with this handout, but then we're going to move to another resource. So the basics here, they're giving you a single article, single author periodical format. This is the same for single author of any kind of source, no matter what the type of source you have, a book, a magazine, a podcast. If there is a single author, this is what you do. If they're not articles, then you don't follow the rest of it, but this is where you find the single author. And then they give you other author variations. So if you have 2 authors, this is what you do. If you have 3 to 20 authors, this is what you do. Now, sometimes you don't have an actual author. You might have an organization. So instead of a person as the author, you just write out the whole name of the organization. If you're missing the name of an author, i.e. the author is unknown, you start with the title of the book or the source. And then you follow all other guidelines. The one thing that you change is that you put the year after the title that you were doing. Then this handout does show you a couple of other ones, but it's pretty limited, so I want to look at different resource. So I personally have come to like this Excelsior OWL better than the Purdue OWL, because the Purdue OWL one has all these advertisements now, and they have their own advertisements, and they have these videos that keep popping up, and sometimes they even ask for money. It's just driving me nuts. So I find the Excelsior page OWL, and OWL is an online writing lab. And in the beginning of the internet, every university started creating an OWL. And actually, we have an OWL too. Let me. So we have a writing center. It is in SUB, the same building as our offices are. And in a normal semester, you can go in there anytime, well, anytime that they're open, and get immediate feedback from a writing center staff person who are students. Somebody was a writing center intern in this class. Was that so? Does anybody claim being that? No, okay. So they're doing it all as online feedback right now. And so right now, what you do is if you want feedback, you submit there. But they also have some writing resources here. and they, including citation styles. And I actually haven't taken a look exactly what they have. Oh, they just go to Purdue. All right, we can take a look at that. So notice on the left, they have an APA formatting and style guide. General format, that's that stuff like, you know, putting headers and the heading across the top, the running head, and how you do title pages. But they then have in-text citations, and then they have reference list. And notice that they have basically the same as that handout. And see why they would allow the citation machine to come in there. I don't know. And here they give you examples of single author, 2 authors, 3 to 20 authors, more than 20 authors, and a group author, which includes corporations, government agency, organizations, etc. And unknown author. And apparently they newly have added the fact that you can write anonymous, but only if it's labeled as anonymous. And then if you're using 2 or more works by the same author, you distinguish it by the year, and then it gives you the rules for how to deal with if it's the same year, if it's a group, etc. Then you have some general categories. So you have reference lists and periodicals, and it gives you the basic form. And here it's giving you the, well, 3 authors. Notice the titles. And then they give you the differences between a print journal. I don't know if anybody does print journals anymore. And then electronic journal. And it says include a DOI if they've given it to you. And it does say that if you don't have a DOI, you can add the URL. Now, many students just will give the URL and not all the other information. That is not a good idea, because a lot of times the URL is a problem, you know, is somehow broken or gets moved, or somehow it was put in wrong. And so you really still need to put in all the other information. It also gives a version for periodical that is in a popular source. So for example, in the workshop I did on Tuesday that I just sent the recording this morning, we found a bunch of sources in Time Magazine. Well, Time Magazine is a popular journal, not a scholarly one, and so you treat it a little bit different. It's pretty similar, but it's a little different. A lot of popular magazines are more common than you know, are put out monthly, and so you put out the month in that kind of magazine. You still have the title the same, title of the periodical the same, and if there is a volume and issue number the same. They also give you a newspaper and then a review. So this is under the category of articles and periodicals. What does a periodical mean? It means that it's something that is published periodically over, you know, each month or each quarter or each year, as opposed to a book, which is published once and then done with. So if you have a periodical or a magazine, you look that up and you use the information about authors and the basic rules information, but then you do the specifics for the different kinds of periodicals. Same thing for books. So the basic form for books is, trying to make us go crazy by doing it slightly different than periodicals. The book title, the whole thing is an italicized, but in this case, it is sentence cap, unlike the title of the periodical, which is title case. Then you get the publisher name and the DOI if available. So they've given you these details. Those of you who learned MLA before 2016 used to put a city in the MLA citation. MLA doesn't do that anymore, and APA doesn't do that. So you don't need to figure out what city. One of the things that you might have with a book is that there's an editor of a book rather than an author, and they've shown you how to do that. And you can have an edited book with multiple authors. And you can have translations, editions other than the first chapter, multi-volume. So all the different possibilities, they include a sample of, and you just have to look it up. Other print sources. Dictionaries, something discussed in another source, dissertations, etc. A report by a government agency or other organization. So one of the things on the video that that you'll see was that I did a little bit of a search on Alyssa's topic, which is to change the law on three-wheelers. I found that Arkansas used to have the law that a three-wheel vehicle, like those weird little three-wheel things, Polaris, I think is an example, used to have the law that you had to get a motorcycle license in addition to a driver's license in order to ride such things. But there has been a huge effort on the part of the companies that make those vehicles to encourage states to change the laws and not require motorcycle licenses. So it is kind of a big issue across the country, and every state does it differently. And Arkansas in 2017 removed the motorcycle license. And so we are currently in a situation where you don't need a motorcycle license. She wants to argue they need to reinstate it. So in wandering around on the web, I found a report by the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, NTHSA. That is a government agency. So this would be the way she would cite it. She'd start it with the organization name, the NHTSA, probably written out fully, then the year, in this case it was 2020. My guess is that what happened is that it got lost in all the other things that happened in 2020. And so what happened is that the some subcommittee in Congress asked the NHTSA to do this report, and it was submitted, and then nothing has happened with it since. So I found it somewhat frustrating because I couldn't find it on the NHTSA website. In fact, it was just attached on some popular, some person's personal blog about motorcycles. So I would have had to other print electronic sources. So it was a PDF included on this personal person's webpage. So it's not a web page. It's not a Wikipedia article. It's not an online scholarly journal article. It's not an online periodical. It's not an abstract online electronic dissertation entry. Gee, it's not any of these things. Aha. This might be getting close. It doesn't list it. So in my book, it tells me how to attach how to cite a PDF that's attached to a website. But this one does not. Other print sources, maybe it could. All right. Let's see if the Excelsior does. So over here on the left is the APA style. They have references and in-text citations. Chances are you're not going to need in-text citations. You're just going to be summarizing. You're not going to be quoting. And maybe it'll be under other sources. Book review, no. So probably the closest thing will be a web page. No, maybe not. So probably what she's going to have to do if she uses that is just do the government agency and then attach the, include the URL where she found it. Because and the way to do that is the retrieve from. I guess they're not giving an example. Yet another reason why having the book is a more useful way. So you will find, no doubt, you will undoubtedly find yourself not being able to find some of your sources and not being able to figure out how exactly to cite it. What you need to do is just find the closest thing and adapt that to your particular situation. You can always also, I guess I should have pointed this out, that APA as an organization has a, I guess they're just not. So APA, the American Psychological Association, which is what it stands for, they themselves have a lot of examples and assistance on their website. So if you can't find it in any other way, you can definitely go look at what's there. There are aids on APA that are free, and there are some that you have to pay for, but many of them are free. I think all of these are free. Yeah. And so if you can't figure out in looking at the Purdue OWL or the book, if you've got the book, or Excelsior OWL, or some other book if you have a book, go to the APA style page, apastyle.apa.org. And chances are you're going to find their details there. They also have a blog where people ask about, odd ways to do it. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this process? I know it's not the most exciting part of writing. It's one of those things, though, that you can be more professional if you make sure that you spend the time and do it right. And remember, once you start doing it, once you start doing it, it'll be a lot easier than it seems like on the front end. Any questions about APA or the annotated bibliography, which is due on Tuesday? Okay. You guys have a great weekend. Next week is the last week before
You too.
Thanksgiving. And
Miss Matson,
yes.
Miss Matson, did you make sure to check me in? I was about 6 minutes late
Yeah,
for today.
I saw you.
Okay, thank you.
That is one of the good things about the admitting thing. I have to actually admit you if you're coming in, so I could keep track. No
I'll be
questions?
emailing you, Miss Madsen, after class. Yeah, I have to email you, but I have to say something about email it to you.
Okay,
All right.
All righty.
Bye.
no questions, then I will say goodbye. See you later.
Are you gonna text me later,
Yes,
Miss Madison?
yes,
Follow up with me later this evening? Okay.
yes.